All right, let's bring in Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes into the conversation. So before we start getting into the meat of all this, when we talk about the code of conduct, how did we get here?
A report on Clarence Thomas, I think, is probably the easiest way that you can say it. It was a deep dive by Politico that went through years of failing to report a number of gifts that he had received, from trips to college tuition and school tuitions being paid, properties being purchased. The one house that his mother lives in now, his friend purchased it from him, and now allows his mother to live there rent-free. So none of those things were reported. That kind of kick-started this whole conversation for sure.
Right.
You have the 15 pages right in front. I'm not going to ask you to read all of it, but can you give us a SparkNote version of what's in it?
I definitely have already taken an opportunity to review this, and so I think it hits on a couple of points. First, they go on to make sure that everyone knows, we heard your comments, we heard that you were talking about us, and so they say most of these principles aren't new. These are things that we've long had in the past. You know, the absence of a code, however, has led in recent years to a misunderstanding that we think that we don't have a code of conduct, so now we're going to succinctly reduce it to writing. I think that was clear. You can see folks that are listed on this page just based on the rules that they have listed. Justices should comply with restrictions on acceptance of gifts. Well, they're clearly talking about Clarence Thomas, that list of things that he hasn't reported in the last couple of years. And then it says chamber resources. Justice should not use any chamber resources, staff, or any other person to engage in activities that are not materially supportive. Sotomayor was alleged to have used her staff to do some book promotion deal. And so they're attacking every report that was listed out there, and they're placing it in their written conduct, which I think is something they should have done. Regarding Clarence Thomas's failure to report these gifts, he had a requirement to report the gifts, even if there was not a code of conduct.
Right.
Elected officials already have a high standard of reporting financial disclosures, and so his failure to report those disclosures already was problematic. They just have a document that was succinctly, as they said, reduced to writing, so that now they can hold each other to task. That portion, I think, is the hardest part.
I mean, plus we have to remember we're talking about the chief justices who we think would have the highest morals, the highest values.
Sure.
But what happens if they violate one of these code of conduct?
That's the part that's missing. If you flip through it 15 plus pages, that's not there. And that's what Dick Durbin was saying, that I think this falls short because no one knows who does the oversight. No one is saying, well, what happens if there is a violation? And if you look in here, it's not here. And so while other courts have, well, if you have a violation, you'll go before a board and this board will say X, Y, and Z happens. Well, it doesn't say that here.
Right.
So now we'll have to wait and see if these folks that do have the highest standard of our judicial system will hold themselves accountable. The legal profession, as I was mentioning to Morgan earlier, is a self-reporting profession. If you see a wrong act, you're supposed to report it. So now, if you see a wrong act, will you report it?
Right.
Sounds like they're going to police themselves, huh?
We'll see.
Khalif Rhodes, we appreciate it.